This is Noori Siddiqui, and today's topic is the spiritual dimensions of self-love. My very special guest is Ashraf Moorad, who's currently visiting from Durban, and Ashraf is a psycho-spiritual scientist and empowerment specialist. Ashraf, we're talking today about the spiritual dimensions of self-love.
Yes.
And something I found quite interesting is that the opposite of self-love is actually to be in shame and guilt and other aspects where we simply don't really like ourselves or we're unable to forgive ourselves.
Yes.
And we might also think of self-love as something that's egotistical and we think too much of ourselves.
Yes.
So could you please refresh us and give us some perspective on this?
Okay. Your topic for today was self-love?
Yes, the spiritual dimensions of self-love.
The spiritual dimensions of self-love. Yes. I would suggest that self-love is the key to the spiritual dimension.
Right.
So I'll say that again, it's quite profound. Self-love is the key to the spiritual dimension. And so yes, there are many people who are not in awareness of the role of self-love. I actually prefer the term self-appreciation.
Yes.
Self-appreciation.
And self meaning higher self, and also in the knowingness that we are unconditionally loved by our Creator.
Yes. So self-appreciation is the key to the spiritual dimension. In fact, all spiritual technologies, including prayer, is based in self-appreciation or self-love. Those who have self-appreciation can activate spiritual technologies and use them successfully.
Right.
So those who have a sense of self-respect, self-valuing, then they, as they pray, their prayers are actually answered because it is self-love or self-appreciation that is the key to the spiritual dimension.
So they actually believe they're worthy of receiving, you mean?
Absolutely. Any and all forms of receiving is based in the appreciation of self. So if you cannot appreciate yourself, you cannot receive from yourself your own respect, how can you receive respect from anybody else?
You know, the irony of that, Ashraf, as you speak, is that if we watch a small baby, it totally loves itself, it totally appreciates itself, and obviously will scream and do whatever is necessary until it gets what it wants because it knows that it's worthy of receiving.
Absolutely.
And then as we get brought up and infiltrated by the upbringing of our parents, we take on guilt and shame and unforgiveness and all these other negative emotions that make us feel undeserving.
Yes.
So as a psycho-spiritual scientist and specialist, what is your viewpoint on that?
It is true that when we are born, we actually haven't learned to reject ourselves. We haven't learned the fear of failure. So babies, they are in knowing of their own worth. So in the middle of the night, a baby would want a feed and would cry for a feed. Wouldn't think, oh my God, am I going to disturb my mother? I don't want to upset my mother. What if my mother, I'm so bad, I'm asking for a feed. So babies and children have an innate self-respect that they would communicate their needs in the way that they want, even young children. As we grow and develop, we begin to deprive ourselves and fear that our needs are not important and that our needs are actually a burden unto somebody else, which is a form of self-depreciation.
Right.
And to add to that, children as they grow have no fear of failure. In fact, the only two fears that scientists tell us or psychologists tell us that babies have is the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling from heights. So a child would grow and learn to walk and wouldn't think, oh, I fell once, I don't want to fall again, what would other children think? Or I'm not going to try to walk because what if I fail? You see, what if I fail to walk? So children have an innate sense of respect for themselves.
We'd all be on our knees, wouldn't we, Ashraf?
Absolutely. No, I'm not going to try that. What if the other ones, I walked at 11 months, that one walked at 8 months, I'm so embarrassed. So children, they don't have these kind of learned rejection that is part of society. So children have an innate sense of self-worth that they begin to express and be themselves fearlessly because there is no fear. And they learn, they know of their vast potential and they apply themselves until they acquire skills naturally without the fear of failure. These two actually become blocked when people recognize that worth can be withheld or love can be withheld. And one of the most pervasive misperceptions is that we are not loved, or that love can be withheld from us.
Yes.
In actuality, there is nothing but love. There is love, and we are in love, and love is within us, and there's nothing but love.
Right.
So love actually dissolves away fear. So the ills of society, which is based in misperception and judgment and withholding of love, is dissolved by love. So love becomes the antidote to societal diseases, and all diseases are actually the absence of love.
Now, but looking at what keeps us away from love, I'm thinking of the words shame, guilt, fear, and unforgiveness.
Yes.
Now, it's very interesting that we are taught that our Creator is all forgiving.
Yes.
And yet, most of us will find, for one reason or the other, that we are unforgiving towards ourselves. Yes. That we then get trapped in guilt and we get trapped in shame.
Yes.
Now, I found that the concepts of that very interesting, because many of us also carry shame, yes, that we don't identify as shame. We know that we feel bad. We know that we lack self-esteem. We lack self-worth. We know that we find it hard to conceptualize what is self-love.
Yes.
But we don't get that it's the guilt, shame, blame, and fear and the unforgiveness of the self that blocks us.
Yes.
So what simple tools would you like to share today to help somebody that's carrying that anguish? Because it actually doesn't take long to let go, but it can take a lifetime of holding on to, yes, which will keep you from what you want.
Absolutely. So understand this, self-appreciation is the key to ease, to joy, to well-being, to prosperity, to success. And you were saying, as you were saying, people carry shame. And so what is shame? Shame is essentially the withholding of love from oneself.
Yes.
So the absence of self-love through rejection and judgment of self is shame. Shame is not really real, just as the darkness is not real, just as the darkness is the absence of light. So where there is no love, there is shame. And love is withheld or blocked through self-judgment and judgment. Hence, a variety of different spiritual literature suggests that do not judge. And so a lot of us judge ourselves, and as we judge ourselves, we judge one another, we judge our children. So the first tool that I will share with you is not really a tool, but an awareness. That in various scriptures, it is said that God created man and breathed his spirit into man. And in fact, some of the scriptures say that God requested the rest of creation to actually bow down in front of man, in honor of man.
Right.
So the first awareness that most people are unaware of is the value, the innate and intrinsic value of man, of humanity, of you the viewer, me, you Noori, is that we are all valuable.
Yes.
Why? Firstly, because we exist. We are parts of existence. So whether you have debt, or you're a multi-millionaire, you are equally valuable because you exist. But society, through its judgmental standards, will say the multimillionaire is more valuable because he has something. Or the woman who is more beautiful is more valuable than the woman who is aged or older, you see? So society judges.
So you are valuable just because you exist. It's unconditional.
Your worth is given not only do you exist, but you are a part of existence.
Yes.
You are here as a legitimate being. You're not here as some illegitimate being, second-class citizen. No matter who it is, as a human being, you are valuable.
Which automatically qualifies you to receive.
Yes.
And the first of which is to receive love to yourself, by yourself, for yourself.
If you do not know of your own value, you cannot appreciate yourself. And this is why I'm sharing with the viewers that it is important that you recognize that you exist as a part of existence. Not only that, you exist as a part of creation. So that which we call God, Source, the divine, you are created by God.
Right.
That is the value of you, that God has purposefully created you by design.
Now, you said at the beginning of the show that self-love is spirituality.
Is the key to the spiritual dimension.
Right.
Yes.
So, in other words, the self-love is the connection with the higher self, which is the consciousness that connects you to your Creator.
Yes. So
right.
Your mind, if you do not release judgment against yourself and your fellow man, you will not experience your value. You will not experience, you will not appreciate yourself. You will not know what you really are. So not only are you created by God, as the scriptures tell us,
yes.
you are created from God. there was nothing else but God. God can't
Right.
say, go to the other God there, can you get some sand, can you get something? There is nothing but God, so you're created by God, from God.
So your responsibility to yourself is to love you, is it not?
To recognize your own value. If you do not
Yes.
recognize your own value, you will behave as an individual that is powerless and a victim. You will want other people to love you, but you will not love you. You will want other people to respect you and pay you well, and you wonder why they don't. If you don't raise your own price in your own eyes, don't expect anybody else to look at you with value.
Yes, that's
So-
so big.
Thank you. So not only are we created from God, but we are, not only are we created by God, but we are created from God. So
Right.
what you are really is not just valuable as an existence that is created by God, you're an aspect of God, you are a creative aspect of God. So now your value is that you are an amazing being. God created you, as some of the scriptures say, in his own image. When God created man, as some scriptures say, he asked the rest of creation to bow down
Yes.
in front of man. I was speaking to a learned gentleman early on. He says in the Noble Quran, it is once asked for the whole of creation to bow down in front of God, but 4 times it is mentioned in the Noble Quran that God mentioned bow down in front of man. He asked the rest of creation to acknowledge that which he has created. So I asked the question,
How profound is that?
one time only in the Quran, according to the learned Sheikh, that it is mentioned that he asked that he be honored as the source, as the creator. But 4 times, at least, it is mentioned that he asked creation to bow down in front of Adam in acknowledgement and recognition of that which he has created. So I asked the question, why is God so impressed with himself? After creating Adam, first man, you and I,
Yes.
he is asking, he's marveling at his own creation. And this, as a psycho-spiritual scientist and specialist,
Yes.
is because he has breathed his spirit into you, and what you are is an aspect of God. You are a creative aspect of God.
Ashraf, we have come to the end of the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I would like you to give out your cell phone number for those that would like to contact you,
Sure.
and your website, which is www.blissfulliving.com.
No.
.org.
Yes.
Right now, blissful, BLISSFUL -living.org, and your phone number?
It's 082-752-6969.
082-752-6969. Shukran, and thank you for joining us, Ashraf.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely. That brings us to the end of the program today. That was my beautiful guest, Ashraf Moorad, speaking on the spiritual dimensions of self-love. Love yourself, and until next time, this is Noori Siddiqui signing off.